Don't pull it. The whole thing might come apart. Wait a minute.
You show me one other show on television where you get a hand for pulling a thread off your coat. Something's wrong with the entertainment business. Unfortunately, my shorts are on my knees. They're all having office Christmas parties. And a lot of companies don't do that anymore, true? Because they get out of hand and people say things at office Christmas parties. They wish they had never said the next day. But I cannot picture at an NBC office party or Christmas party with John Chancellor with a lampshade on his head.
No.
That doesn't make it. Have you seen what they're putting up outside here at NBC in construction? They're building a new building out here, which is called what? Disneyland? The wonderful world of Disney, or what? Disney on Parade, which is kind of the roadshow version, I guess, of Disneyland. And they're building a new building out here. Have you ever seen construction work with big floppy ears? It's the weirdest looking thing. It's a long way to go for nothing, wasn't it? You might like this one. This was in the paper today. Day before yesterday, I think it was. They had a bear that was shipped to this country from a Himalayan bear, right? Or Himalayan, whichever you prefer. Which do you prefer?
I prefer Himalayan. Given a choice of two, Himalayan.
All right, a bear from Himalaya, let's say.
Right. Or Himalaya.
All right. What?
Or Himalaya.
Or Himalayan, yes. This bear, under the floorboards of this cage, they smuggled in something like 50 pounds of hashish, yes, in the bear's cage, and the customs agents got suspicious. The bear was acting strange. The crate was sent over here on a plane, and the bear was trying to get the stewardess to hibernate with him. And when do the astronauts leave the moon? About tomorrow, don't they? And they come back? Did you read in the paper that they may have discovered a volcano on the moon? That's true. Not to take any chances, NASA advised the astronauts to sacrifice a jar of Tang to it. Just in case. That's what they instruct the astronauts. Did you know the astronauts took some tapes along to amuse them while they're up there? Marching songs, music. And I don't know if I'm supposed to mention this or not, but it's in the paper. They took along a tape of Don Rickles. That's true. Doing part of his act. And it's beginning to tell already. I don't know where you heard the message from Cernan to Mission Control yesterday. When he had yelled down, he said, "You send me up here for 250,000 miles with some hockey puck who likes rocks?" No, what is that? Weird. Well, here's an item that was in the paper today. I noticed make all you housewives very happy. They have found, apparently, arsenic in chicken livers. Did you read that? That's true. It was in the paper today. That a little too much arsenic. Yeah. Do you eat chicken livers?
No, never.
You know, next time you ordered a chicken to go, you just might do that. But the news travels fast. There's a new place already open called Chicken in a Casket. But it's given the mafia a great new idea. From now on, they're going to giblet people to death. I should probably paraphrase that. I don't think there's enough arsenic in to prove fatal, right? But they have more amounts of arsenic than should be in the liver of a chicken. What else happened today? I gotta think of something. Did you hear the latest? Jolly Green Giant was fired. They thought he was a little too jolly. They caught him out in the valley holding hands with Big Wally. There's all... You know where Fontana, California is?
No, I do not, sir.
Huh? What?
Yeah. I don't. Fontana?
Yeah, that's a city out here. Yeah. They're having this in the paper. They're having a haircut price war in Fontana, and they even offer specials. They'll trim 2 sideburns for free or for a regular charge, and then I blew the joke. I was going to say they charge you. I said they're going to charge you to do both, but they'll do the third one for free. You see, that was where I was going with that joke, but it's too late now.
No, I don't know where Fontana is.
String trick will get them every time. Should be an interesting show tonight. We have James Garner with us. We have Bruce Dern. We have the Mighty Carson Art Players. We're going to present a special monster sketch tonight. We have a gentleman who's written a book, Terry Gallinoy, called Tonight, which is a history of the Tonight Show from the days of Broadway Open House, the days of Jerry Lester, through Steve Allen, Jack Parr, up through our residence here. Rather fascinating book. I found out stuff about this show that I didn't know, and about me. It's an interesting book. It's part fact, part fiction. A little gossip here and there, so we're going to talk with Terry about that. Aren't you interested in things like that? Behind
Yes,
the
I
scenes?
am. I can't wait to get to it.
Behind the scenes in showbiz?
Yes.
I'm a jerk, according to this book. I'm a jerk. No, he didn't say that at all. I don't want to get all steamed up before he gets out here. Am I leaving something out?
I don't believe so.
What? No, you don't,
Yeah.
don't mention that. Don't mention a surprise guest. You just mentioned we got a surprise.
Well, you didn't have to say it. Nobody heard him say it.
I heard him say that.
Well,
How can a
yeah,
guest
but the
be a
rest of the
surprise?
country didn't
How
hear
can
it.
it be a surprise?
Well, wait a minute. Look.
I just told him we got
You
a...
didn't have to tell him.
What?
He said it. You didn't have to repeat it.
I said we got a surprise guest.
See, only you and I heard that.
How can it be a surprise?
If you didn't say it over this, they wouldn't know anything about it.
We'll continue in a moment after this word with our surprise guest. We are back. What are you laughing at?
You're starting to go. I can feel you. The
Yeah.
holidays are getting to you.
I get silly this
Okay,
season. Remember last night? You weren't on the show last night.
I wasn't? Yes, I was. The night before last
It was the
night.
night before last you weren't on the show.
Yes, sir.
Were you here when we were talking about Long Johns?
No, I was not.
Ah,
here.
well, that's what I meant. That was the night before. You weren't here. The doc was sitting over here. Remember we talked about Long John's long underwear?
Well, Doc was over here. That's probably why I wasn't here then.
All right. Anyway,
Long John.
Long Johns. And I said somebody will write us and tell us where that expression, do you know?
I don't know. No.
For the long underwear with a trap door. All right, here's a gentleman, Don Michelson, an MD, a doctor
Oh, a doctor person.
from Canoga Park, California. He says the phrase Long John comes from a phrase meaning goodbye, much the same as in the Dear John letter of World War II times. The phrase, along with the underwear, was invented in 1830 when a discontented wife took needle and thread and sewed the top and bottom of her sleeping husband's pajamas together. Later that night, when he tried to remove them and couldn't, he leaped from a bed in a rage and asked why. The wife answered by saying, "So long, John." So Long Johns are Long Johns ever since.
No way I'm going to buy that. No way I'm buying that.
He says, in the interest of accurate long underwear semantics, I remain warm and comfortable in cool Southern California. Don Michelson. P.S.
Yeah.
If you believe this, I have a great story to tell you about a bridge in the New York area that's been owned by a family for generations. It's a great buy and a real moneymaker. I sat up today,
Yeah.
and I was reading this in the office, you know,
Yeah,
but
well,
I didn't
okay.
see the P.S., and I said, that sounds about right, 1830, you know.
You were buying all that?
So we still-
long, John.
So Long John, they've been known as Long Johns. Now, do you have any idea where the expression came from?
I have no idea.
Or why they call them Long
Long
Johns?
John. I have no idea.
We still don't know. All right.
We will find out, however. Someone in our vast audience will know.
Well, that's what I thought with Dr. Michelson, but he was putting us on. Here's a letter from a teacher, Jane Klein, Lincoln Elementary School, Framingham, Massachusetts. She says, I could not resist having my students write something for you. She says, I'm sure every other teacher in America will have the same idea, and you will come to rue that day. But nevertheless, here are my fourth graders' definitions. Now, fourth grade would be about, what, 8, 9 years old?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. Of who is Johnny Carson? That's all she asked him, and asked him to write an essay. And she sent us some of the responses here. Does that look like school, the old tablet paper? This is Cheryl. Johnny Carson, right?
Right.
Johnny Carson is a star. He's very famous. Sometimes he's on TV. I like watching him because he is funny. My sisters don't watch him. That's the whole
all.
composition.
You got one in that household.
That's all I got one. My Cheryl's sisters don't watch. Johnny Carson by Martha.
Very neat.
Yes. Johnny Carson is a bango player. Now, I assume she means bongo.
Bongo player.
He is famous for the bango and his singing. I think that he's okay, but he's not fantastic. You know that he used to be famous for bangos? He was. Really, he's okay, but I wouldn't like to be him. If I played a bango for a living, I bet I'd never get paid that much. In a way, I would like to meet him. Another way, I wouldn't. Do you know why? Well, he'll start playing and do junk like that. I don't know whether I got Martha. I don't know whether I got Martha or not. What's a bango? All right, let's see. Johnny Carson. There's no name on this. Or Jane, I guess, Jane. Right? I think he's a football player. For the Redskins. He is a quarterback. He is famous for getting a lot of touchdowns. He runs fast with the ball and gets a lot of touchdowns. I think he's great. Because I don't think... What is that? No, because I don't think he's great. I think he's dumb.
These kids are vicious.
I do great for about the first half of the letter, and then these little vicious people turn on me. I think he's great. I don't want to meet him. He's dumb. All in a paragraph. Who is Johnny Carson? I don't know who he is. Is he a great big star? Did he invent something? I want to know about him. Is he going to visit? I don't know. I hope so. If he invented something, I hope it's a toy so we can play with it. But if he's a famous movie star, I hope we can go to the movies with him. Who is Johnny Carson? I'm getting worried. Who the hell am I anyway? I don't know. Johnny Carson is a very famous actress.
Finally getting to the truth.
Yes, sir. Johnny Carson, Jonny. Once upon a time, I met a movie star. His name was Johnny Carson. He told me that he was from Bonanza. I told him that he was good. I liked meeting him. I can't read the rest of it. From Bonanza. Kids have great minds, don't they? They just make up things. Here's one from Monica. Johnny Carson, I don't know much about him. I'll try to do my best. Already, I'm a drag for Monica. I was a cowboy in the olden days. He rode around helping people and doing friendly things, like helping them with the cattle, the farms, horses. That's a good man to me.
Right, Kimosabe?
All right. Frank. 1. Yeah. He's a great comedian and a movie star. 2. Jokes and riddles and great acting. 3. He's a great guy. Yes, because I like to hear some of his jokes and acting. Frank's going to be an accountant, I think. He doesn't waste any time. Johnny Carson by Beth B. Johnny Carson was born in a little town on the east coast of California. Here's one from Jimmy. Johnny Carson's a bread boy. I think he was the first bread boy to sell 100 pounds of bread. I don't know if I'd like to be a bread boy. He sold so much bread, it's like that. He sold so much bread that he became famous. If I meet him, I'll probably try to sell me some bread, so I'm not sure I'd like to meet him.
Do you believe that?
Everybody wants bread from me, I tell you. Here's Martin. Johnny Carson's a singer. It's about the 4th one, I think, I'm a singer. He's famous for singing. I think he would be fun to meet. I would like to get his autograph. I would put carbon paper and make lots of them and sell them for 2 cents each.
2 cents?
Well, the first 4 lines, I'm sensational. And then he sings me with 2 cents apiece. They're going for a nickel on the open market. The singer again. This is from Carolyn. Johnny Carson plays the guitar. That is what he's most known for. Johnny Carson has a television show. I think he's sort of queer.
Is that great?
Yeah, they're not that euphemistic expression. No. I'm odd, I suppose. But, well, that's what the 4th graders are thinking of at Lincoln Elementary School. Thank you.
What town is that?
That's Framingham, Massachusetts.
Oh, Framingham.
Thank you, Miss Klein, or Mrs. Klein, or M.S. Klein, for sending those in. Kids are great, aren't they?
Beautiful.
You couldn't write those as honestly and as uninhibited as I
think of you like the boys, a bongo. A bongo.
Bango player. Not a bongo, I'm a bango player. We'll be returning with Jimmy Garner tonight. We have Bruce Dern, and we have the Mighty Carson Art Players, and Terry Gallinoy. And a surprise guest. My first guest tonight is one of the major stars of our business. He's probably best known to television audiences for television show Maverick and Nichols. He's been in over 30 motion pictures, currently starring with Catherine Ross in They Only Kill Their Masters. Would you welcome our good friend James Garner? A long time since I've seen you.
Yeah, it's been quite a little while. I haven't had anything to say.
Just nothing, nothing to say. I read about you in the paper the other day. You were over at the one of the hotels receiving some kind of I don't want to say strange, but I'd never heard of the particular award.
Oh, well, it was a Hollywood Women's Press Club.
That's
I was
right.
One of the nominees of the Star of the Year, which I kind of thought was a little odd. Marlon Brando was nominated, Burt Reynolds was nominated, and Peter Falk won it, and deservedly so. But when they announced me, they said I was nominated for quietly going about the business of making motion pictures.
That was your nomination?
Yeah. I couldn't understand that. You know, I hadn't had a picture out in a year and a half, but...
That's weird.
Well, I figured they nominated me because I didn't do anything bad. You know, you don't put anything out, they can't knock you.
That's kind of nice, getting an award for not bothering people. Just,
Yeah.
you know, going your own.
Well, I'd been doing it for years.
I didn't realize you had made. Well, you just made this picture. What do you
Well-
mean you haven't made a picture in a year and a half?
Well, had only been released a week.
Oh, that's
They
right.
couldn't have seen it. So, you know, I was busy making a television series
Yeah. Do you like those kind of functions?
for about 12 minutes.
Yeah. Are you bitter about the show that going on?
No, I'm not bitter, Joe. No, really. I loved it. I really loved it. I liked the show. I enjoyed the show. I was very proud of it. We produced it also. It was a failure, though, John.
Were you on for how long?
We had 24 shows. We were on for 1 year.
A lot of shows don't get that.
No, they don't. But I had them locked in going in, John.
All
Guaranteed.
24, huh?
All 24, yeah. But no, I was proud. You know, there's things besides making film, you know, and succeeding. You know, I felt that when we did the series that we accomplished something.
Right.
We found some good writers. We found some good young directors, and we had an awful lot of fun. I had the greatest company that ever was put together to make films, and we really enjoyed it.
Well,
So
that's
I
not a
felt
bad
that was
experience.
as much a success as we needed.
Do you remember Broadway Open House at all?
Oh, yeah.
He goes. He starts way back there with Jerry Lester and Broadway Open House and takes it all the way through. Interesting book.
Steve Allen.
Yeah. I was saying something on the monologue. Every time I read something about myself, when you read things, you get a little bit uptight something if it doesn't follow exactly what it's supposed to say?
Yes, I do.
Or do you get...
Yeah,
cool
well, the
about
worst thing in the world, maybe I shouldn't say it, but
you could say
like,
whatever
this
you
is
want.
your life. That's a dandy.
Did they do you?
Yeah, they did me.
I missed that.
Years ago. That was before I'd done anything.
That's got to be a strange show. This is your life where nobody knows
this is
you.
your life. You haven't done anything. But the idea of what somebody else thinks your life is really a dandy. I mean, they had people I didn't, you know, I had my old commanding officer telling how, you know, I saved his life.
Oh, really?
I was shot before he was.
Nothing to
We
it
met
at
in the
all?
hospital.
They
No,
made
it
all
wasn't
that
any
up?
truth. No, but it sounded good on the show.
And you didn't deny it on the show, did you?
Yes, well, yes, I did. Yeah.
Did you?
I mentioned the name of the guy that did save me. I
That's
couldn't
weird.
stand there and take credit for something that I didn't do.
Yeah.
Just like I remember they had my old buddy hawking. I hawked my only overcoat to get him out of jail. I stole the overcoat.
Stole the overcoat.
That was the truth.
But that's honest, anyway.
Yeah.
Did they go back to when you were in Oklahoma? That's where you come from originally,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Now, did they dredge up your childhood and...
I'm afraid they did, John.
Did they?
Yeah. Couldn't escape that. Yeah.
Oklahomans have an accent all their own. I have a couple of friends, and when they want to go into it...
I don't know how you can say that, John.
Yeah, there it is, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. It's no
I've
one...
got no accent hardly at all.
Hardly tall.
No, it's really funny. I was just down in Florida with a friend of mine, that a guy named Bill Saxon, that I grew up with, you know. And my wife called me on the phone while I was down there. And I said, "Hi, honey, how you?" You know, and she said, "Uh-oh, he's with Bill."
That's all it takes.
As
just
soon
to-
as we get together, the accent comes out.
Hank Sims, a good
Hank
friend of
Sims.
ours, who's now from Oklahoma, and every once in a while he'll fall right into that, start talking like... I can't do it, but...
Yeah, well, you should. You're from Nebraska.
But Nebraska really and Oklahoma don't have...
Well, we don't
that
get along too
regional
well,
accent.
actually.
That's for
Oklahoma
sure.
beat Nebraska this year. it in, John.
You sure did.
Did I rub it in a little?
You want to rub it in? You did. Yeah.
When you get upset, the accent comes out.
Oh, yeah. That'll come out there. Did that bother you when you went in the picture? Did you really have a thick one?
Yeah, I did.
Now, did you have to go to the studios and take the elocution lessons?
No, as a matter of fact, well, Charles Lawton was the first director I ever had in a play called The Cane Mutiny, and he said to take Shakespeare and go out and read Shakespeare in iambic pentameter over the sound of the waves at the beach. I did that, folks. And today, I don't have a trace of an accent. No, I really did.
I can see you out there.
I'm out there.
To be or not to be?
To be or not to be? Now, there's a question for us.
There's a question, by golly.
Like the old Andy Griffith.
That's funny. You ought to do something like that.
What light in yonder window shines?
It's Juliet.
Let me tell you, he went out there to see what light that was. We don't know what it was he was going to do up there, but he near about got caught at it.
That's right out of Oklahoma.
No, that's more North Carolina.
That's right.
That's a steal from Andy Griffith.
Yeah. But you really did go out and...
Yeah, I did. I stood out there like some dum-dum yelling over the waves, you know.
Yeah.
And actually, it made me more conscious of my voice and strengthening my voice because, you know, in that part of the country, your voice kind of soft. You kind of raise everything up at the end. And I don't do that anymore.
No.
Oh, no.
Wish I could.
I can get right back to it just real quick.
Just hang around a little while, huh?
Yeah.
That's funny. Should we do this? I'm checking with my producer. Want to wake Fred up? Okay.
Nice going, Freddie.
Hold on. All right.
That's it.
Hold, I know it means hold.
Very
I can
good.
tell that. Golds, how would you do this? How would you say this if you're in Oklahoma now?
Yeah,
Golds can be...
Hark.
Thank you, Doctor. Over the years, there have been many different trends in movies. But the one type of film that has consistently made money and been a success is the horror film.
Where is that assistant of mine? Igor! Igor! Pathetic. That was pathetic. I told you, use the door, Igor. Use the door.
Door.
Great.
It started out as just a little pimple.
Learn to squeeze it, Igor. Squeeze it. Oh, tonight's the night. All of my work, all of my experiments. Do you know what's under this sheet, Igor?
Yeah! 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 Yeah!
Too much, Igor! Too much!
Boy!
I have taken the heart from one corpse, and then a little lung from another, and the brain from another, and the parts from hundreds of bodies, Igor. And do you know what this man has created?
What, Master?
I have created life, Igor. Yes, I have built a monster. Dr. Fives has done the absolutely impossible. You know, they laughed at me in Heidelberg, and they laughed at me in Vienna. The villagers, you know, they called me a madman.
Yes.
But now revenge is sweet, and you've done your work well, Igor, digging up coffins and putting together dead bodies, sorting out human organs, doing all kinds of sick things with the large intestines, Igor.
Well, it's a living, Master.
Igor, my monster shall destroy this village. I mean Burbank. Off.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Now think of it, Igor. No more Burbank, and now the end is near.
Yes. Right, Master. We're unleashing a monster, you know that.
Igor, the time has come. Now we're going to unleash the monster.
All right. I don't know if the world is ready for this terrible monster.
More to come on the show, but right now, stay tuned for this message.
We are back. Would you welcome my good friend, Mr. Ed Sullivan here? How did you feel coming up on that board, Ed?
I thought you were going to fall right on my kiss.
Wouldn't that have been awful? The end of a sketch, and here he is, rump, right down. Good to see you.
Nice to be here with you, Jim.
We're going to talk with Terry Gallinoy later, who's written a book about The Tonight Show, but I think before The Tonight Show went on, believe it or not, almost 20 years ago, you'd already been on the air, right?
Yeah, we've been on now. We're in our 24th year.
24 years? Mm-hmm. That's an incredible record. It really is. Mm-hmm. And we've talked about some of your early days. You started a lot of people that most people have forgotten. Who was on your first radio show and who is a big major star now that made his first appearance? Jack Benny made his first appearance on your radio show. Mm-hmm. It was back in when? 19...
Oh, have to be. Lord. Back in the 1920s.
Good Lord. It's a long haul, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Do you miss Sunday nights, not going out Sunday nights now? I know you're going to do specials, but you kind of miss that?
Yeah, you do. You know, it'd be like you, all of a sudden, instead of doing your night, every show every night, you didn't have it anymore, and you feel lost.
Every time I talk to you, Ed, I feel like I'm talking to some guy doing you. Ed walked in this afternoon and said, where do I lie down? And I went over and I said, no, Ed, that's wrong. It's where do I go? And he said, oh, yes, That's one of the supreme compliments in our business, though, when other people do impressions of you, as you well know. And you have probably been the most, I would guess, most impersonated performer in our business in the last 20 or 25 years. Have you done a Flip Wilson show yet? I know you're going to do with Flip.
Yes, we've already taped that.
I understand you taught him how to do introductions of various acts?
No, actually, he said that. He needed no help.
Yeah. And you've got the Agva Award show, which was done from Las Vegas. Now, what's the date on that? I've got some of the dates here. That's January the 23rd. I think Sammy Davis was one of the recipients. Liza Minnelli, I know. And I believe our own Doc Severinsen won the award for the male newcomer.
Yes.
Did you not, from Fabulous Last Magazine?
Well, we've got 4 shows coming up,
right,
and we're all looking forward to them. There's the Agva Award show, as you know. It's on January 23rd. TV Comedy Years on February 20th.
Yeah, you're doing 20 years of television comedy, right?
Yeah. And it's magnificent. They, go back into the files and pick out little just gems of comedy. And the Flip Wilson show will be the last week of January. And we're going to do a show on Broadway, John, that you like very much because you'll recall so many of the people who were stars on Broadway and the shows you saw there. That'll be on in March.
So you're keeping busy even though you're not on every Sunday night.
Yeah.
If you had to pick out, and I suppose people have asked you this question before, Ed, if you had to pick out over the 20, 23 years of your Sunday night show, what stands out in your mind? I'm sure that the first time you had Nureyev or somebody like that on...
Yeah, that's right. I think the first great kick, or the greatest kick of all, was getting the European performers to come on. Because up to that time, that hadn't been done.
That's right.
And it was a great thrill to have them, Chevaliers and, so many of them.
You paved the way. I don't know whether I've ever said this publicly or not, because in the early years, everybody said, what does Ed Sullivan do? He comes out and he presents a lot of people. But
I've often asked the same question.
What am I doing out here? But you set the standard for a lot of variety shows because you did things in television that were not done because of your newspaper experience, and you were basically a good editor. Mm-hmm. And you brought things to a show that had not been done before. Brought the Beatles to this country when nobody had ever heard of the Beatles, and they showed up.
There were never scenes like that, I think, ever on Broadway. The crowd that assembled outside the theater and outside their hotel, that always will remain as a highlight.
How about naming the theater after you? They named the theater after you in New York City, right? That had to be a kind of a highlight.
They didn't call it Solomon. They called it Ed Sullivan.
Ed Sullivan Theater. Let me do this little commercial there, and we will come back. You still keep a hand in your column actively? in New York?
Oh, yeah. I do two. Well, I only do 2 a week now.
Right. Good. All right, we'll do this. We'll be right back after a word from one of our sponsors. And we have a few. We're sitting here reminiscing with Ed Sullivan. Ed just asked me when I did my first television show. I think the first network show I ever did was 1950 on the old NBC All-Star Review and the Colgate Comedy Hour, although I did local television back in New York. People kid you, and about sometimes introducing the wrong person. Or, did you ever keep a reel of those? I'll bet Bob Preck somewhere
Bob has one.
has got a reel.
Mm-hmm. If he ever releases, I'll kill him.
No, what is the one, because you've quoted him in your book, you know. Who was it you introduced one night? You don't mind if I kid you about this?
No, of course not.
I remember one night you had somebody on, and it was a singer, just some years ago. And you said, let's hear it for, and the name, like we all do, the name just escaped you for a second. Let's really hear it for one of America's really great singers. You want to come on out here, honey? I swear you did. I swear you did.
I know.
And I went right off the couch. Went right off of the couch. Hey, come on out here, honey. Are there any others that you would care to mention that you remember that
No, if you keep talking, I'll try to think.
You know it. Is there anything in your life, you've had such a busy life as a sports columnist and Broadway columnist and television. Is there anything that you would like to have done that you have not done with your life? Or anybody that you wanted to meet you haven't? You've met probably most of the important personages in the entire world.
You know, we've met various popes in Israel. We were in Israel.
Right.
We met the great ones in Israel. It'd be very difficult to try to figure out somebody
But you hadn't met.
We don't know. Well, it's the same with you.
Yeah. Almost, yeah. In 10 years, somebody asked me, and it's amazing the number of people that you have met and had a chance to talk with them and meet them professionally and both socially, too. Look, I thank you very much for coming tonight, and we'll be looking forward to the Agba show and the Flip Wilson thing, and the Agba show's the 23rd, and the 20 years of television, that should be fun. It must have been great going back and digging up all those moments.
It really was. Well, Bob did most of the work on that, and but you know, you're always very generous toward me, but you know, you've been on so long, you've done such a tremendous job, and there have been, you know, so many shows going off the air since you've been on.
That's true.
So I'm going to suggest the audience give a really big hand for Johnny Carson.
Ed, thank you for being here. Still sounds a little like Will Jordan, doesn't he? He says, let's hear it for a really big hand. He's a nice man.
Yeah, it's quite a competitor.
We will, what? No more commercials for this segment? How about that? The day we run out of commercials, there'll be nobody sitting behind this desk. I want to bring out the gentleman who was in our sketch. He's a fine actor, and I think just recently is getting a lot of the recognition that he deserves. Movie that he and Jack Nicholson starred in called The King of Marvin Gardens opens nationally on Tuesday. Would you welcome, please, Bruce Dern. Bruce. Well, you now are baptized in the Mighty Carson Art Players. Jim has done sketches with us. Remember the naval sketch we did once on the Mutiny on the Bounty sketch?
Yeah, when Milton Berle dropped
Crazy
his pants.
sketch.
I remember.
Next to, that's probably true.
It is true.
Next to this sketch, Bruce, what's the worst movie you've ever been in? I mean, we know that.
Oh, no, I didn't
No.
do that. Come on.
The worst movie I was ever...
Every actor has got one that they go, oh,
You
boy.
can't think of one. I can think of 4 or 5. I did.
The worst one I was ever in was probably The Incredible Two-Headed Transplant.
Now, did you make that up, or was that a picture?
Oh, that was a picture.
The Incredible Two-Headed Transplant.
I made a two-headed man.
What,
Lived in your local nice neighborhood.
just your average next-door neighbor. What year was that? I didn't
That
catch
was
that
about
one.
3 years ago, and it was here just that quick.
Bandy, huh?
Yeah, right. Just beyond Hanson Dam, they have a theater. They showed it there at night, and that was it. For those of you who know where Hanson Dam is.
I don't know whether you saw the show the other night, but I was talking with George Carlin about the name Bruce. No, I'm serious. This is very honest. And we'd had one letter, I think, came to NBC. One letter. Some lady complaining that every time we do it very seldom, you would do a character that was a little bit,
Go ahead, John.
no, I don't want, I want to say this, delicate, let's say, that we always use the name Bruce. And she was very upset about that and thought it was wrong. Now,
I mean, the joke's like, and I turned to my wife and said, Bruce.
well,
Is that what you mean, John?
no, not that kind of a joke, Bruce. That's not too subtle, Bruce. How do you feel about that? You've never had any problem with it.
No, I never have any problem. As a matter of fact, when I first, when my name first started to appear in things and everything, I was never aware that that was even a joke until I went and saw some comedian one night was doing a routine down in Riverside. A guy I used to know named Hollis Morrison, and it was a joke that he used in his routine. And I was a little stunned by it.
Right.
And I called Gramps on the phone, whose name is also Bruce and is 90. And I said, what did they lay this particular handle on me for? Have you ever had any strange connotation to your name? And he said as to the fact that he had not. And was very upset that people were abusing the name Bruce.
Yes. Well, we won't abuse it anymore.
No, I don't mind it. I think it's...
Your grandfather, you say, was 90?
Yeah, he's 92 now.
I have a grandfather. Does most of your family live to be that Midwest? Yeah.
Yeah. No, he's the longest one. He's the first one over 85 to make it.
92, that's great. That makes you feel good, though, doesn't it?
He goes to work each day. He lives in Glencoe, Illinois, and he goes down to work in Chicago. Hey, that's it. Wrap it up. North Shore.
Your family background is different from a lot of actors because I understand you come from a fairly well-to-do background, and many actors, I guess a great majority of performers, come from backgrounds that are not particularly moneyed. What was the incentive to be an actor? And did your parents...
Well, communication was a big incentive because we had very little at home. And, hey, let me tell you, when I used to push my food on my plate with my fingers. So Mom made me wear white gloves when we had beets. So when I pushed my
You're putting me on.
No, and then I had to wash them afterward. That's how Mom thought, you got son to eat correctly.
Was put the white gloves on.
That's it, and then we had to wash them afterward. Spotless.
Huh. Can I ask you why you push the beets onto your fingers?
No, I pushed the beets onto my fork with my fingers.
With your fingers?
Yeah.
Oh, that's better.
See?
We'll be right back. We're back. We're talking with Bruce Dern and Jim Garner, and Terry Gallinoy, the author of a book called Tonight, will join us in a little while. Most performers, or actors who want to get into the business, look for recognition. That's the idea of getting out and becoming known. And then after they achieve a certain amount of success, you kind of pay the piper along the way someplace, and a lot of men resent the fact that people intrude on them. Does that put a strain on you now that you've become more known?
Well,
I'm as guilty of it as anybody. You work and say, boy, I want to get a show and so on. And then as soon as you get it, sometimes you say, oh, gee, I wish they wouldn't ask that, and et cetera.
Well, I always like the notoriety. I find that the greatest judge of, how you react in public is what you do at athletic events, and I'm a sports nut.
Yeah, I know.
And I still go equally berserk when the Rams throw it all away like they did last week, and I go nuts at the...
That reminded me of the old Mets baseball team in New York for a while. Everything fell apart.
I used to think, well, now that I'm, kind of established, can I go to the game and root like I always have? Or are they going to think, hey, come on, sit down. You got it. Let us cheer. Quit making noise, loud mouth, big star. He's got a mouth off, But I
don't think at sporting events people feel that way. They get so wrapped up in the thing that they really don't bug you too much there.
I did that last week. I was down in St. Petersburg, Florida. I bought part of a hockey team.
In St. Petersburg, Florida. Good investment, Jim.
A hockey team in St. Petersburg?
Yeah.
Here comes the puck. Now look, don't. Did it go by, Harry? Now don't write me letters in St. Petersburg.
John.
Well, I don't see. What do you call them? The Geritol Raiders or what?
They're the
Hockey
Seacoast
team in
Suns.
St. Petersburg. The what?
Seacoast
The
Suns.
Seacoast Suns.
They're a very good hockey team.
I-
But I got out there and made a complete fool of myself, yelling for them, just like you said. You know, I went berserk. I got all over the other team. I thought they were going to climb out.
Now don't write letters about doing jokes about St. Petersburg. Really.
Well, yeah, don't pick on St.
I
Petersburg.
joke about them.
because, they got a good hockey team. You want a hockey puck?
What? No, not really.
Why does the name hockey puck? You know,
It's a funny sounding word.
It's a funny sounding name.
Hockey puck is a funny sound. It's like chicken fat.
You know what I've
There are certain words that are funny. Say, I'd like some chicken fat.
I've always wondered how when Rickles, he's the first one I remember ever, like...
He uses hockey puck all
But
the
he
time.
calls people hockey pucks. Yeah.
There's no rhyme or reason with Don Zack. There doesn't have to be. Just blow up a cookie and sit on your balloon. And people say, what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything.
I gave my daughter a hockey puck as a gift the other day.
She must have been thrilled.
Oh, she was. I got news for you. She was the biggest thing in school because she took it to school and said, look what my dad gave me. Everybody gave. They
This
give
guy
gifts.
Jim's got a few peculiar moves on him.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I don't push beats on with
Look, we all have our little peccadillos and little foibles there. I mean, if a man wants to put beats on his fingers, he's entitled.
I eat spaghetti.
You know, he's a... he's a long-distance runner?
I know he is.
Right.
Every time I go in San Vicente, there's Bruce going 24 miles. He used to run every day. 24 miles.
Just short now. I go 5-10 miles. That's it. Getting old.
They say that's not good for... you have to work up to that, though, right?
Right.
Because you're about, what, late 30s?
36, right.
And most people, after they get 35, should not go out and start doing long-distance running because they can also
Not opening
fall
day.
over and hurt their heart. Well, you do. Remember when the jogging thing craze came up?
still
Every
here.
clown in the country says, I'm going out and jog. And guys were dropping like flies because they hadn't done it.
Well, as long as you do it with moderation, like anything. If you start out, there's not a soul in this audience, or you or anybody else, who couldn't go out and start and just do an easy mile a day, every day, 7
First
miles
day?
a week. Yeah, easy, John. Just start out walking and then break into a little jog, and that's all you have to do.
Well, how fast can you run a mile in?
Can I run a mile?
Yeah.
Now, probably, 4 minutes and 40 seconds, somewhere around.
Well, that's a very fast mile.
Yeah, but I do it every day. I guarantee you, if we went out to a track tomorrow, and I saw your thing with Toomey a few years ago.
Yeah, we did a thing out here.
At Mount Sac or something.
Almost died. Almost died that day.
But you were jumping and throwing and hurdling and
All
everything.
in one day. I was an absolute wreck for the next 2 weeks.
Well, so was he, but he didn't tell anybody.
So you could work. So you could work me up to about
you
what?
you could go out tomorrow on any little track, 4 laps to the mile around here, and you could run 12 minutes tomorrow for a mile.
Well, 12 minutes. I could walk it almost. Couldn't you?
That's walking pretty quick, John.
Well, you could walk a mile in 12 minutes, really.
Depends
Fairly.
on who's after you.
Or who you're walking with.
What do you think I could get down to if I
Get
really?
down to about 6:30 for a mile.
It's still a fairly
in
brisk.
a couple of months.
But you have to do it every day.
That's 10 miles an hour.
Well, it's a pretty good trot. It's not full out, but it's a good.
But it's fun. I mean, I see these guys like Jack Nicholson and I, when we did this movie, The King of Marvin Gardens, we were in the middle of winter in Atlantic City, and I ran every day, and he loves to play tennis.
Right.
And neither one of us are superstars at the thing that we love to do.
Yeah.
So I got him running, he got me, trying to maneuver around a little tennis. Well, he's a maniac, man. I mean, you hit a ball to him, and he's got to go into the net for it and go back, climb walls and everything, And he's not a good player, but he gets the ball. So now it's my turn to take him out and run him.
That's right. Run him to
so
death.
I got to run him into the ground.
He's psyching out on the tennis rat. You know that.
Absolutely.
That's funny. Let me take a break, and then we will have Terry Gallinoy join us after this word from Budweiser, the king of beers. My next guest is Mr. Terry Gallinoy, who is a writer, producer of television specials, many books, magazine articles. creator of over 100 award-winning television commercials. And he's written a book called Tonight, which is about, and on the picture is a picture of Jerry Lester, Steve Allen, Jack Parr, and myself when we were all about 12 years old. And it's an interesting book, and as I say, I found out a lot of things about myself I didn't know. Would you welcome Terry Gallinoy? Okay, Gallinoy. Let's take a look at this book. I enjoyed the book, first of all. I really did. It was an interesting book, and it's, as you say, an anecdotal history of the Tonight Show. What turns you on to doing a book on the Tonight Show? I know you were with us before, and you did a book called Down the Tube.
Down the Tube.
Right.
And that's exactly what turned me on to doing it, because I realized the importance of getting on this show. The publishers and the promotion people and the newspaper people and the magazine people talking about the importance of coming on the show to promote a book made me realize that this show actually was creating our national morals, mores, manners, habits. And as you know, that's been true for at least the 10 years you've been on. And
I really didn't
longer.
know the show was that powerful. I kept reading, and I said, Mike, we do all that?
The show on a good night, as you know, plays to 12 million or more people.
That's what they tell me.
As a matter of fact, on the night Tiny Tim marriage, well, 1 out of 2 sets in the country were tuned into the show.
That's absolutely right.
And
did you see that
as
show?
a matter of fact, on a competing show, if I may mention it, Merv Griffin's show, the entire crew was backstage watching this show.
Watching the Tiny Tim wedding. Now, we got a little bit of flack from some of the critics for doing that on television, presenting that wedding on television, and which I didn't quite understand, because I'm sure that if Ed Sullivan could have lined it up first, he would have had him married on the show. And people forget that there was a show on for years on television called Bride and Groom,
Of course.
which people came on and were married every day, you know, and screaming for a set of Samsonite luggage. Do you think, and I get the impression from the book, and I'm not trying to put you in a corner tonight, that instead of that hokey comedy sketch we did with Bruce, you would have rather seen than maybe a Bach cantata or something over there tonight. Is that a fair
I don't think the book really goes there. I investigated the intellectual shows, and I investigated the Peggy, Patty, Kathy, Joey, Jackie type of comics, type of singers, type shows, and came out someplace in the middle because I feel that the nuclear scientists and the comics we've seen too often empty about the same amount of rooms or turn off that many lights in bedrooms in the home.
Yeah, now, shows like this, I've never really particularly gone along, as far as this show is concerned, as a talk show per se. I guess maybe as the ego, I think we're more of a comedy show or comedy-oriented or entertainment. A talk show to me, per se, in its truest form, would be like Bill Buckley, William F. Buckley, or David Susskind and such. This is really more of a potpourri of a little bit of everything.
It's probably a bad phrase. Actually, the phrase should probably be a no-script show. And if you get into no-script shows, that's where you go back all the way to Jerry Lester. The idea of putting people on just to talk at each other had never occurred to any other medium than television. Radio, of course, had scripts, and American Legion halls, and vaudeville shows, and even carnivals always had a pre-structured show of some kind.
Right.
Only television has this original art form called the talk show. And I think under the general category of talk show, this falls, and this is also the leader, the granddaddy, under the Pat Weaver idea, that a talk show, of having people on a show to investigate each other's minds, to take the camera into the head that goes to the moon, or into brain surgery, or into your wonderful Dr. Ehrlich's population bomb, and the marvelous things that have been on the show, the exposure of bright ideas through the years, qualifies this very much as a talk show. Maybe a better phrase would be an idea show. But I don't qualify it as a comedy show at all.
One of the critiques that we get occasionally is that a show like this doesn't do, and you mentioned in the latter part of your book some suggestions on a talk show, that it's time that television grew up and fulfilled some of its responsibilities. What do you think television's responsibility is as far as a show like this? A lot of people say it should be to educate, to inform, I think you said to make better citizens. How do you do that?
I ran quite a gamut in my suggestions there, all the way from running a national lottery to help ease the tax problems on every individual, to such simple survival things as how to get a cab on a rainy day, or how to get a table in a crowded restaurant, or how to cut your income tax, how to get along better with the neighbors, how to get your children better education. People of this type, I know that when you've had these people on, the people who deal in simple everyday survival and services, you get good mail on that and good reaction, and that there is a response of a type. So it's sort of a Sesame Street for adults.
Yeah, personally, I don't believe, and I may be wrong, I don't think the prime idea behind television, or its prime responsibility, is to educate or to make better citizens, particularly because I don't think there's any substitute for a situation in a classroom. For, you know, they've even found that Sesame Street, for all of its publicity, is not really turning out to be the educational show that they thought it might be. Because I don't think a child sitting at home watching something vicariously really learns, because he can turn away. The only time I found that it can be a great aid to education. But people say shows like The Tonight Show should educate and make better citizens or enrich the human condition. And I'm not sure that that is my particular bag.
I'm more interested in the education of what you just said. How do you get a table in a crowded restaurant?
You go, hey, Charlie, and you put your hand out like this. That's the way you get a table.
But conversely, it's a public medium.
Right.
The airwaves do belong to the public. Under general structure.
That's another subject anyway. That's very interesting. Why do the airwaves belong to the public?
On a show of this type, there would seem to be some duty to transmit some information, some education. I'm not talking about the Dr. Edward Teller explanation of atomic energy type of explanation, because that does turn off television sets with the resounding thud all across the nation. But the actual everyday, where to buy a good 10-cent hamburger today type of talker, I think is more interesting than the Jerry, Joey, Jackie type comics who are back with the Las Vegas routine that they had a month ago when they were on the same show.
You keep using that phrase in your book. Now, how about the George Carlins, the Steve Martins, the David Brenners that we've put on? I mean, you keep using that phrase.
Bruces and the Marks and stuff like
that. Yeah, and Steve Landisberg and those kind of people who have come up.
This particular show has been a leader in developing...
We'd love to find more of those
exposing new comics. I know last year when I was on, there was a girl who was fairly well known at that time, but not the star she is today, named Bette Midler.
Bette Midler is going to be a big star.
This was one of her showcases. And this has been a marvelous showcase for many people who came on. Bill Cosby and the top names who
Johnny Rivers here.
On the show. People who came on and weren't known when they appeared, and by the time they left this platform were national names.
Let me take a break here and sell something. This is another format we have. And now an electrifying message from one of the most charged up sponsors. What? Yeah. Good. I'm talking to Terry Gallinoy about his book, The Tonight Show, and I've marked a couple of things here. Now, can I ask you something personally now? Because when people write about me, as I say, I get a little uptight or something. Now, you had something here about when my brother Dick came into my office one afternoon to quit. And Dick had done the show since the inception. And you say Dick had directed the show from the very beginning. Now he decided he wanted to go back to California to direct the new Don Rickles show. And in quote, said his brother. That's me. Looking down at the jokes in his monologue for that night. Listen, do you think we can get Bobby Quinn to do it? Quinn had been associate director, and Johnny Carson has liked his way of handling the cameras in the show. And with that much of a goodbye from his brother, Dick Carson left. You see, now, when I read something like that, I really get steamed. To tell you the truth. Because it's just not true. And it makes me sound... sometimes writers almost have a penchant for taking performers and want to make them mysterioso, that they are aloof, like they are cold, like they have no emotion or affection at all. Now, that's not the way that happened at all. I don't know if you talked to my brother about it, but we talked about him leaving for 6 weeks. He wanted to come back to California. He had an opportunity to do the show. But it makes me look like an idiot, you know, like, oh, well, you're leaving? Okay, goodbye, see you later.
Well, this is the information given me from
not my brother.
Not from your brother, but from someone who was a member of the production staff at the time, who said, as I heard the story, and as you know, and as you know, when I was researching this book, researching thousands of programs and hundreds of personalities involved here, I talked to those who were involved, searched the press files, tried to find truth where it existed and as it lay within the limits of the tremendous job of putting together 20 years of personalities involved.
But you don't
and
talk
I would
to
be,
the actual people, you mean?
Oh, I talked to many of the
No, but I
actual-
mean,
many
in
of the
that
actual people
situation, you didn't
involved.
talk to either one of them.
But I talked to a man who had heard the story from the brother who, at the moment he walked out of the room, and said, he came out and said
Third
the
person.
following.
Third person.
Third person journalism is an accepted American system.
It may be accepted, but is it right?
Now, can I ask you another
No,
question?
I'm the victim of it, too. That's why I get a little steamed also.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had articles written about me and things written about me that have no basis in fact whatsoever, you know.
Well, I'm not involved in your story, Mr. Garner, so I don't
No,
know. I don't know.
but well, just we got to the question, that's all. Is it really honest to do that? To take third person and
Well, if there was
print it
any,
as fact?
no, well, if there was anything dishonest in my book, Doubleday wouldn't have published it, and I'm sure there would be lawsuits filed. What I've done.
Now you really got it. Okay,
Now,
your turn.
can I ask you a question?
Okay.
Since you were in the public eye, how much do you make a week?
Right now, nothing.
Well, what was-
Because publishers pay twice a year. They
Yeah.
pay in May and October.
Well, what was your income when you were creative advertising director at the agency?
$70,000 a year.
70,000. Does that bother you? Somebody ask you that?
No.
It doesn't at all? You really don't care? Somebody ask you how much insurance you have or how much you make?
Now, why is that a secret?
That's why should you have the right to tell people? Now, you quote in here, my salary on the Tonight Show. Now, I'm not going to give the figures, but I'm going to ask you something. I'm going to write here on a card what I get a week for this show. I don't want you to bullshit, all right? Then I want you to tell me if it's anywhere near close to what you have printed in your book that I get for this show. Because the New York Times once came out, as you said in your book, reported that I was getting $75,000 a week. They didn't. They reported I was getting $85,000 a week, incidentally. And I got a retraction from them.
Back to $75,000 a week.
Now, that's what I get. You can check this with Mr. Freddie DeCord over there. And would you be willing to admit that this is a far cry from what you printed in your book?
Is that net or gross?
Gross. That's gross. That's gross.
All right, and does that include your ownership of the production company?
I don't have any ownership in the production company.
That owns the show?
No. Did you say that's a far piece?
Yes, because it's less than you were making in 1967.
Well, I don't know
When Reader's Digest and the Chicago Tribune and the New York Times and Look magazine reported that you were making $10,000 a week more than that at that time.
But I'm just saying, I
5
always
years-
wondered
5
what
years
the
ago.
business is of people. Writers always write this like performers are stealing the money. Jack O'Brien, remember the Jack O'Brien who is now writing for the Secaucus Daily or something, always used to say that performers have taken their loot. That was his favorite word. He said Johnny Carson took his Las Vegas loot. And if you look up the word loot, it means ill-gotten gains by plunder. And I've often wondered why do people resent that performers seem to make... Obviously, they make more money than the average man on the street. So does Jim Garner, and so does Bruce Dern. But a lot of reporters and journalists seem to resent that fact and print it like they don't deserve it or they inherited it or something.
Sometimes it's not.
I will admit the salaries are obscene to go to a lot.
Xin chào các bạn. Hôm nay bên em lại về một chiếc vai ớt E số sàn sản xuất 2014. Chiếc xe màu vàng cát, biển Hà Nội, tư nhân chính chủ. Vai ớt là một trong những dòng rất là bền và tiết kiệm nhiên liệu. Con này thì xe số sàn đã từng đóng vào hãng taxi. Nó là vai ớt E nhé, không phải bản thiếu hoặc bản Nemo đâu. Nó là vai ớt E nhưng mà gia đình đóng để còn chạy taxi. Vì vậy là con này chạy được rất là nhiều. Và thứ hai là nó đã cũng bị va quẹt. Tổng thể chiếc xe thì nó cũng còn tương đối, vì bên em cũng đã về mông má lại rồi. Xe biển Hà Nội nếu mà ai mà chạy taxi dịch vụ hoặc là muốn mua chạy ở ngay Hà Nội thì đỡ phải sang tên và cũng đỡ tốn tiền. Tổng thể chiếc xe thì bên em đã mông má nên là còn tương đối. Lốp la răng thì còn đi được dài dài. Nó đã xuống cấp nhưng mà vẫn còn đi được dài các bạn nhé. Con này bị va quẹt và là xe taxi, vì vậy là km công tư mét đo nó hơi nhiều một chút thôi. Còn lại thì nó cũng không có vấn đề gì cả. Đây, đèn trước, hai đèn trước thì nó cũng tương đối tối rồi, nó không còn được sáng nữa. 2014 đi được 7 năm rồi thì nó cũng xuống cấp là điều đương nhiên. Nội thất bên trong đây cũng đã xuống cấp theo thời gian. Vô lăng, cần số, da ghế, nói chung là tổng thể chiếc xe thì nó đã xuống cấp rồi các bạn nhé. Tuy nhiên là nó không quá xuống cấp, nó không như ở da ghế thì không quá nhăn, vô lăng thì không quá xấu, có màn hình DVD tích hợp cam nồi. Nhưng tổng thể chiếc xe thì cũng còn tương đối. Đây các bạn có thể nhìn qua. Còn mua thì có thể đến trực tiếp xem thì sẽ cho chi tiết hơn. Chứ nhìn thế này thì cũng không chi tiết được. Đây, hàng ghế sau, da ghế cũng không quá nhăn các bạn nhé. Mọi thứ của nó thì còn chấp nhận được. Trần còn tương đối mới. Đèn hậu cũng còn sáng phết đấy. Xe biển Hà Nội. Con này mua về chạy taxi dịch vụ, đưa đón con đi học trên mưa trên nắng thì tuyệt vời. Và với một chiếc xe mà đã chạy taxi và đã bị va quẹt nhiều như này, nhưng mà nó chưa không vào đến phần khung và taxi đâu nhá, thì bên em giá bán với một cái mức giá là 190 triệu. Con này nếu mà em không mở máy cho các bác xem, vì xem cũng không chi tiết được, nhưng mà các bạn đến xem trực tiếp thì nó đã bị va quẹt, nhưng mà không vào đến phần chassis và cũng không ăn quá sâu, nó chỉ bị ở những phần bên ngoài thôi. Ai mua liên hệ sớm với em, 190 triệu các bác nhé.
Thank you.